You see, there's something I respect South Africans for. In fact, let me put it this way. There's something I respect Nelson Mandela for. Listen to this. And this is something we've always failed as most African countries. But South Africa was able to get this as why South Africa is the most developed. And if you want to prove it, why are Nigerians in South Africa? You see, most African countries go to South Africa because let's face the truth. The most developed African country, the most developed nation, largely populated by black people in Africa, is South Africa. As a matter of fact, the world got to know about Africa because of South Africa. Go and check movies about Africa from Wakanda, Black Panther, Woman King, Lion King. Check everything. Everything they use South Africa. It's always been about South Africa. Webampe is South Africa. Uzumu Uzumoya is South Africa. Check it out. Ubuntu, Lion King, South Africa. Everything is South Africa. You understand? The songs that were sung in Wakanda, whatever, South Africa. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. How were they able to do this? Listen, Nigerians, there are simple questions you don't ask yourself. If you want to assess development, if you want to assess proper amenities, if you want to assess working systems, you travel overseas to Westerners, right? You travel to a Western man's country. You know, this is where the deceit you've been given tend to blind you from seeing the real truth. The deceit you've been fed in. But those things are propaganda by your elite groups so that you can't see the truth. So when you're protesting in foolishness. And the protest of a foolish man elevates an evil man. The protest of a foolish man elevates an evil man. It makes an evil man stronger. The moment foolish men keep protesting, an evil man, his oppressor, becomes stronger. That's true. That's true. Listen, what did South Africans do? They saw other nations seeking to assess development. They saw other nations seeking to assess development, and then it made them travel to developed countries. It made them do what? Travel to developed countries. And they say, listen, these people desire development, and then they travel to assess that development. We can't be doing this. Because they saw other African nations as people who want water. They go to the stream, fetch water. You go to the stream, fetch water. No, that's foolishness. That is foolishness. How about we bring the fountain of water closer? Rather than going to fetch water from a fountain far from us, how about we bring the fountain? How about we bring the borehole? How about we dig the water here? So you know what they did? You see, South Africans, they tell themselves the truth. I've been in a live with South Africans to know these people are very intelligent. These people are so wise. They know when to fight and they know when not to fight. In situations where other people, foolish other African countries will start fighting, South Africans will fight. Because they recognize this and they tell themselves the truth. So you know what they did? They said, is it wise that whenever we want to assess development, we want to assess working amenities, we travel? Is it wise? Now, what do we do now? We have to bring this development here. So what did they do? First of all, they had to define what development is. They had to define, the first thing you do is define what development is. Now, working amenities, working system, developed areas are simply a product of a developed mind. You have working amenities, you have good schools, you have this one, your society is doing well. These things are just products. They are not the development itself. These are products. These are evidences of a developed mind. So they told themselves another truth. Who has that developed mind? Who has mastered that developed mind? It's very simple. The Westerners. The Westerners. They have mastered a developed mind. There was a debate held. A nation that possessed South Africans, Nigerians, and the Gold Coast there. I got to understand that. You see South Africans, you see Ghanaians, they know these things. One of a Ghanaian debate, the guy that represented Ghana, he said, Africans don't know how to govern themselves. They don't know how to do things for themselves. So Ghanaians, the Gold Coast, allow the white man to teach them. And they got to know. This was exactly what South Africans did. So you know what South Africans did? They went and incorporated and amalgamated and unionize themselves with these developed minds who are Westerners. But Nigerians are giving the impression that the people oppressing you are Westerners. So you are busy doing the wrong thing, seeking to get your own, seeking to secede, whereas you don't know that a black man is unable to govern himself. And then they will be giving you the impression, it is the Westerners that are twisting your own people. It is better to be a slave to a wise master than a brother to a fool.